Hi guys, this is Mike from ScaleTrains.com, back out at the workbench. And in this episode of Tech Notes, we're going to talk about installing the upgrade kit for the Operator air slide covered hopper. So first, let's talk about what comes in the kit. We've got our wire form grab irons. We've got these photo etch brackets. The ones on the left here with the little curved leg, those are going to be for the main train line. The four on the right are going to be for the brake rods. We have train line hoses and coupler cut bars. We have the main train line. We have 3 brake rods that you'll end up having to cut to length once you get them installed. And we have the 3 lines for the control valve. The 2 from the air reservoir and then 1 from the retainer valve. So now that we know the parts, let's work on getting these pieces installed. Let's go ahead and install the grab irons. Now, while you'll find that most of the holes in the body are already cored, I'm going to recommend that you drill all the holes out, being very careful with some of them that you don't drill through all the way in the body. So what you're going to need is a pin vise with a number 80 drill bit. I like to use a piece of styrene. This is 30 thousandths thick by 125 wide. This will be our spacer that'll get laid in here to make sure all the grab irons get installed straight and level. And then once they're glued in, then you can pull that out. And a pair of tweezers. Probably might need a little pair of pliers as well, depending on how well your tweezers grip the grab irons. But let's go ahead and we can start drilling some of these holes. And what we're gonna do is on these particular ones here, these can drill all the way through because they're going inside the body. And so these ones shouldn't be much of a problem here. But again, like I said, they are cored, but I would recommend drilling them just to make sure that there's no extra paint or any other buildup in there that might cause you a problem when you're trying to install the grab irons. Now, one thing that you want to make sure, if you're anything like me, these little drill bits break very easily. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that you want to make sure that you keep the drill bit clean and clear of any debris. And so you'll see here as the plastic builds up, you want to kind of get that out of the way, because again, what's going to end up happening is that as that drill bit clogs up with stuff, it binds up in the hole and it can cause a problem, and that may cause it to hang up and also break. And so you always want to kind of clear that plastic material out of there. These holes in the ends here, you want to make sure that you don't go too far in, because these will go all the way through to the other side, and then you're going to see those holes. While they're small, you don't need to do that. So again, we get these guys started. Keep that drill bit clean. So now once we've got some holes drilled, and I'm not going to drill all of them right now, but we're just going to show you how this works. I like to lay the styrene in here, and again, like I said, the idea is that this is going to act as a shim. It's also going to help keep all the grab irons at the same level and flat across. So now I'm going to take our first grab iron, and what I've got over here out of camera eye is I've got a little blob of super glue on my workbench here. I'm working on a piece of glass. I've always done that. It's easy to clean up. And I'm going to dip just one end of the grab iron into the glue. Going to place both ends of the grab iron into the holes. But like I said, I'm only going to glue one side. I don't know that it's going to be needed to glue both sides. And there's our first one. And I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick this up, but you can see now we're pressing it all the way down against the plastic to keep it in line. And that keeps it nice and level, and again, that'll keep all of the grab irons at the same level and nice and squared up and everything. So pretty simple little technique. One thing that you're going to find, like anything in life, there's about 100 different ways to do this. And you're going to use whatever techniques you find work best for you. Not too much on that one. With glue, in particular with super glues and stuff, a little goes a long way, so you don't need to put a ton on. You just need enough to keep it in place. Again, just a little bit of glue on one leg is all I'm putting on here. We got them pressed against that plastic. There you go. All straight, all at the same level. And so now what we'll do is we'll move to the end. We'll do the same thing, and basically you're going to do the same thing in all the locations to install the grab irons. They're all the same. And now we'll move on to the end. So again, we're going to drill these holes out, and we want to make sure that we're not going too deep, keeping that drill bit clean. Just because of the multiple things all at the same time, but we're going to hold it like this. Leave our plastic in there. Pick up our grab iron. And again, there's going to be 100 different ways of doing this. This is just the way I'm doing it. Feel free to take this and come up with your own ideas or changes or different, changes in the way you would like you can do it or what works best for you. There we go. Okay, so there's the first one. And again, we're just going to go through the same process again. And I'm kind of holding all this here in front of the camera, so it's a little bit trickier than I would do it if I was not trying to show you guys how to do it. So push against that to get the other side into its location. That one went a little bit easier. Here's number 3 for this position. This is not overly challenging. It's a little tedious, but it's not, it's one for this position. So for this one guy that's being a booger. And there we go. That helps. So there's the grab irons. That one that's popped out here. Again, possibly a little bit extra glue on the second leg might not be a bad idea, just to help locate them. I think what I would probably do is I would come back in with a small piece of wire and some very thin glue, and just touch each one of these and just let it pull itself down, pull that glue down into those holes, and then that'll and you can do that. Probably do that with the plastic spacer in place, just to make sure that everything stays where it's supposed to. But that's the general process for the grab irons, and we'll move on to the next step. So we've done the sides. Let's go ahead and work on the ends. I've already done this end, so I'm going to turn it around here. We're going to work on this end. I've already drilled these holes out just as we did on the side. Drill the holes out, and then we're going to put our plastic spacer in place here. And let's grab our first grab iron here. And again, a little bit of glue. And pretty good, this last one. You can always eyeball these as well. But we're pretty good. So there is the end grab irons. With the fuzz hanging on there. Installed. And now from here, we'll move on to the next step. So in this step, we're going to install the train line hoses in the coupler box lids. What I've done for this already here is obviously I've got the car turned over and in a cradle. I've removed the trucks. And we're going to remove the coupler box lid. Before we do that, you want to note that there is a small hole at one end. That's the front that always faces the coupler. That's where the coupler cut bar is going to plug into the box. And we'll cover that here in a moment. But we're going to get this box lid off. And you're going to notice that on one side of the box lid there is a flange and a small little notch in here. That corresponds to the tab that is on the train line hose. Oops. And you're going to see that here. You see the small tab on the train line hose. That fits into the notch. So we're going to put a little bit of glue on that. And we'll stick that in there. This is the only attachment point for this part. So you want to make sure you get enough glue on there to hold it in place. Again, still doesn't require a lot, but you may. And basically the tab, oops. The tab drops down into the notch. Just like that. And just press it in place. Let that glue sit up. You want to make sure it's pretty much perpendicular. Now, there is a tail off the back end of this thing, the pipe. This is designed to actually fit into a hole that's in the bolster on the car. Though, if you're going to need to remove this, then my recommendation would be to trim just a little bit off the back end. Our cutters here, just trim a little bit off the back end, so that it isn't banging into anything when you remove it. And it's going to disappear up in the bolster area anyway. With the trucks on, you're not going to be able to see where it actually goes, so it's really not that important. You can see here where it's already disappearing. And once you paint it, again, to match it on this color in particular, once you paint it, it's going to be very hard to see anyway. So, train line hose goes on both coupler boxes, obviously. Paint it to match, a little bit of glue, and that's it. That's all that holds that in place. Now, for the coupler cut bar, there's two attachment points. There is a pin here at the bracket, and there is a little pin on the end of the bar. The pin on the end of the bar is the end that's going to go into the coupler box lid, and there is a hole here in the stirrup step mounting bracket where the other end pins in. So, what I would do is I would recommend this end is not going to require any glue. And so you're going to want to get it in there and kind of press it. It's going to be kind of a little interference fit. Not very much, but a little bit. That way then you can remove the coupler box as needed. The other end is going to go into the bracket. Just like that. And so what we'll do is we'll keep our finger on the other end here. We're going to move this guy out of the way for a second. Put a little bit of glue at the bracket. And we're going to put this guy back down and press him in place. Just like that. And that is how the coupler cut bar gets installed. So again, to remove the coupler box lid after all these parts are installed, you can just pop this bar out of the lid and just unscrew it, and then just, you want to take a little bit of care that you don't bump this thing off, but if you do, the train line hose there, you can it's easy enough to reinstall with a little bit more glue. So that's basically it for the coupler cut bar and for the train line hose. For the underbody of the car, we're going to move on to that, putting in the plumbing and the other rods and linkage that goes in there. So that'll be our next step. Okay, so now it's time to take a look at the underbody details that need to be added. I went ahead and changed cars, so I figured that chassis car with the dark blue underbody probably... Okay, so now it's time to take a look at the underbody details that need to be added. I went ahead and changed cars, so I figured that chassis car with the dark blue underbody probably was going to be a little difficult to be able to see where the parts go and the assembly techniques. So we changed to this Santa Fe car with a light gray underbody to kind of help you with seeing where everything goes. So the parts that are going to be installed are going to be the two air lines that come from the air reservoir to the control valve, which we've already installed, and also the third line coming from the retainer to the control valve. These just need to be trimmed to fit. The two lines coming from the air reservoir just press up against the back of the control valve. There is a hole in the back of the control valve for the third line here for the retainer, and there's also a hole in the back of the bracket for the retainer. And so again, all three of these will need to be trimmed to fit, and so test fit them, cut them a little bit on the lengths, and then you can put them in on this control valve, retainer valve line. There's going to be a long side and a short side of the C shape. The long side is the side that winds up going to the retainer. Fortunately for us, we are also going to need to install the main train line, but it appears that the factory went ahead and did that for us. They weren't supposed to, but that saves us a lot of time and we won't have to install that. So again, these three rods for the brake, two of these are for the linkage to the trucks themselves, and the third one goes out to the handbrake. And so there's three attachment points here, here, and here. You may need to drill these out or clean them out to make sure that there's no excessive paint or anything filling those holes. But we'll start with the short end. And again, like I said, I've cut that to length, and basically what happens is it hooks through the hole in the arm. And I hook them from the bottom, or from the top of the, I guess would be from the top of the car, up and underneath. And then the rod is just going to lay here on the edge of the bolster, kind of towards the center. And then we'll put a little bit of glue right there on the end to hold it in place. I'm going to use an ACC for this. Just a little bit of glue along there. And let that thing sit, and we're good. I'm going to turn it around now and take a look at the longer ones. The one on this side is going to be for the handbrake. Now it's going to attach in the same location here. It hides here under the truck. There are two brackets that are required for this one, and so what we're going to do first is we're going to hook this into the attachment point. We're going to use this one bracket that is a little bit longer, and the idea is these brackets go, the rod goes through the hole in the bracket, and then the pin goes into holes that are corresponding on the center sill. And so when you thread these on, you're going to want to make sure that the pin faces the center sill. So what we're going to do first is we're going to thread the two of these on, and then we'll come back once we get the rod installed and actually glue them in place. So we're just going to slide one down there. We'll take the other one here. And again, we're going to want to set it up where the pin points to the center line of the car, and the drop in the loop is going to be towards the ground when the car's sitting on the track. Though if you walk the hole with your tweezers, it's not going to be very easy to thread it on there. So these guys out of the way here. And so again, like I said, I'm going to glue this on first. This will also keep the brackets from moving. A little bit of glue on there. And what I'm doing is I'm just using some super glue, and I'm putting a little puddle on my desktop here. And again, as I mentioned previously, I've got a piece of glass on top of my desk, tempered glass, that I work on all the time. It makes cutting and other things very easy, and cleanup's very nice as well. You can just use a single edge razor blade and just scrape everything that's left over off the glass, and that works out very well. So now that we've got it attached there, we're going to turn the car on its side here, and we're going to grab this first bracket, and we'll have to kind of pull out just a little bit, but you're going to see, oops, well, this is what happens when you don't wait for the glue to dry completely. So we'll remove that, and we'll take another pass at this. I think what we'll do is we'll use a little bit of accelerator on the super glue to get it to bond really well and quickly, so we can keep moving on this. And that should secure that enough to be able to do this. So now we'll turn it again on its side, apply it with the edge of a knife blade here. A little bit of glue in that hole. And the other one slides way down here, and it's behind the bay, so it's going to be kind of hard to see it from the angle that the camera's looking at it. But the same basic process. And since we're out here in the middle, well, let's say since we're out here in the middle, this should be a little bit easier because we can get a little more bend in the wire. But as I say that, it's still going to be a little bit of a challenge. There we go. Again, a little bit of glue on the edge of a knife blade, and let's push it back down in there. And actually, with both of those installed, not going to be a real need for the glue on the end. So if you can get those two threaded and get them placed like I did there without having to glue that, you can do that as well. So there's one bracket on the other side for the other rod, and so again what we'll do is we'll try and do that one without the glue on at the bolster position. See if we can't. I'm going to turn this around, and again with the brackets, we want to make sure that the pin goes to the center line of the car, and the loop drops to the bottom. A pair of tweezers to do this. Oops. Okay. Again, we'll turn it this direction, and you can see very clearly there the mounting place for this. And that drops in there. And it's actually going to trap that wire very nicely. So again, I don't think we actually will need the glue on the bolster for the two longer ones. Again, a little bit of glue. And we'll let that set up. Once those are installed, we can go ahead and put the trucks back on. That's basically it. So again, we've got 1, 2, 3 pieces of brake linkage with 2 brackets on one and 1 bracket on the other, 3 pieces of plumbing between the air reservoir, the control valve and the retainer. And that's basically it for the underbody. And that's about it. So I hope this information was helpful. If you've got further questions or concerns, you can always check out our webpage and follow us on Facebook. Thanks for watching.